Good afternoon, or sorry, girls, good evening. We are going to start off this new topic. It is called as the development, function, and structure of endosperm and its haustoria. We we have to. Well, this is actually a simpler topic because I want to cover this part of embryology. We have our paper deals with a lot of embryology. So I think you know what is a seed, right? The seed, inside the seed, when you look at the seed, you have inside the seed what is called as the endosperm, isn't it? And the embryo. Okay, what is the endosperm? Just as in a baby, when a baby is being formed, okay, when a baby is being formed inside the womb of a woman, the baby is enclosed in a placenta, right? And that placenta has some fluid called as the amniotic fluid. So in the same way, in the seed, some seeds, they have a tissue called as the endosperm, and this endosperm acts as a nutrition for the growing baby of the plant. What is the baby of the plant? It is the embryo. Okay, so please, you should know the difference between an endosperm and an embryo. The endosperm is the nutritive tissue, the embryo is the growing, developing plantlet, growing, developing tissue which will give rise to the plant. So let us look. The endosperm is the most common nutritive tissue. Who is it for? It is for the developing embryo, and mostly you can find it in angiosperms. Angiosperms are the family of flowers. In gymnosperms, which are the tree family, it represents the female gametophyte. What does it represent? The female gametophyte. Whereas the female gametophyte in angiosperms differentiates before fertilization and is haploid. Okay, in this particular passage, you will not understand it as clearly until and unless I explain to you about the structure or the development of the embryo sac. Okay, so first of all, if I go and explain to you in short what is the embryo sac. If you look at the embryo sac, before a seed is formed, you have an embryo sac. Okay, and inside this embryo sac, you will have 8 types of cells. Out of 8 types of cells, one of these cells is called as the egg cell. Who does this egg cell fuse? It fuses with the male cell from another plant. And can you see in this diagram here? This diagram, you have 2 cells here. Okay, please make a note that all these cells here are haploid, which means that they are n number of chromosomes in each of these cells. But the polar nuclei, or this region here, is composed of 2 cells, and what happens here is that there is another male cell which will come and fuse with this polar nuclei. So the polar nuclei, after fertilization, it becomes a endosperm, and the egg cell, After fertilization with the male cell, it will form the embryo. Okay, so if the embryo is going to be formed from the egg cell, the endosperm is going to be formed from the polar nuclei. So eventually this embryo sac will form the seed. Okay, so here what it is saying is that the endosperm is the product of fertilization and is usually triploid, like I showed you here. How is it triploid? Here you have one cell which is haploid, right? And then another cell here is haploid. And when I cannot draw here, but there will be another cell here which will fuse with the polar nuclei. That cell is going to be called as the male cell. So three haploid nuclei are going to fuse together, so it becomes triploid. So this in this picture I have not shown you, but there is a process called as double fertilization. In double fertilization, the same diagram that I showed you, one of the sperm, there are two sperms or two male cells. The one male will fuse with the egg to give rise to the embryo. One male will fuse with the polar nuclei, see 1, 2, 3, it will give rise to the endosperm. Okay, so this condition where the egg and the polar nuclei is being fused twice, I mean double time fertilization, this is called as double fertilization. Okay, let me show you the kind of like an animation. I don't know if it's here or not. So okay, so after double fertilization, the egg is going to form the zygote, and the fusion of the polar nuclei along with the male gamete will form the PEN. Pen. PEN stands for primary endosperm nucleus. Okay, so what is the endosperm? Endosperm is the nutritive tissue. It is formed after double fertilization of the fusion of the male gamete with the polar nuclei to give rise to the primary endosperm nucleus, or the PEN. And the only angiosperms that do not give rise to endosperm are families of Orchidaceae, Podostemaceae, and Trapezae. I hope that is clear. Okay, so after the fusion of the primary endosperm, you will have the mass of cells, which is the main endosperm. Okay, after the formation of the primary endosperm nucleus, it will divide, and you will get a mass of cells. But based upon the development, you have three different types of endosperm. The first type is the nuclear endosperm. The second type is the cellular endosperm. The third type is the halobial endosperm. Okay, what is the cellular endosperm? The cellular endosperm is very much found in dicots. What are dicots? Dicots have two dicotyledons, and they are cellular endosperm are mainly found in dicots, whereas halobial endosperms are found in monocots. So before I go into detail, I just want to explain to you that endosperm, there are certain plants where you can still see the endosperm. Okay, and you know, most of the time you will not see the endosperm. But the one example of a plant where you can see the endosperm, okay, is the coconut. In the coconut, you have the uh, water. Okay, the water of the coconut becomes the meat of the coconut becomes the endosperm. Okay, and uh, this is the example of a endosperm. Okay, it has two types of endosperms. You have a liquid endosperm and a solid type of endosperm. Okay, the solid part is the meat part of the endosperm. And but most of the time what happens in plants is that the endosperm, because the embryo is growing inside the seed. Let me show you. Inside the seed, okay, here inside the seed you have an embryo, and inside the after the embryo, covering the enclosing the embryo is the endosperm. So can you imagine this embryo as it's starting to grow and grow and grow? It will continuously eat up all the endosperm. So most of the seeds do not show, or most of the seeds cannot see anymore endosperm. See, here also you can see as the embryo is growing, then the endosperm starts to degrade or disappear, because obviously it's eating up all the endosperm. Okay, so uh, only in coconut and in castor, let me show you castor. I don't know if you can see castor seeds. Castor seeds, you can see the endosperm here. Okay, even in the quai, quai. Quai is betel nut, right? So the pan or quai that you eat, okay, even this one, you can see that you have the endosperm, okay, which is a part of the seed. Okay, so it is those are kind of like physical evidences or physical things that you can, physical plants that you can still see the endosperm, but otherwise endosperm is going to be absent. Okay, so please remember what are the three different types of endosperm: nuclear endosperm, cellular endosperm, and halobial endosperm. Okay, so in nuclear endosperm, I will not go into detail now, but let us finish up till here, and I'll continue in the next class. Thank you, girls.